Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. I'm going to give this format a little bit of a try for a while because it's easier for me to upload the videos than to go through all the process of using my video camera and then transcoding and everything else. I can just upload these videos directly unless anybody among my fan base here on YouTube, if you want me to go back to the previous format, you prefer that over this one, let me know, and I'll consider doing that. But for right now, this is just quicker and easier, and I can put a video up rather swiftly. Now, I wanted to comment on a few things that are in the news and that are very important. One is the fire that is falling onto Governor Corbett, who is another one of these fucking right-wing assholes who was elected to office. And as soon as he gets into office, he proceeds to gut and slash and burn every fucking thing in the world. Now, he has murdered the education budget in Pennsylvania. Now, what some people may not be aware of is that he was previously the district attorney, the Pennsylvania district attorney, and that he had been involved in the investigation into Jerry Sandusky and the Second Mile Foundation and the entire fiasco out at Penn State involving pedophilia and child rape. Okay, now, obviously, he failed to bring any charges before being elected governor, and now he is coming into Penn State as a Board of Trustee member to try and do political face-saving by getting rid of Joe Paterno and some of the other people involved in this affair. I think that the overall emphasis is going to be on trying to put all of the blame and everything that happened on Jerry Sandusky and the fact that there was just simply not enough evidence to go forward in this case prior to right now. And has been pointed out by others, we have a 40-count indictment against this motherfucker right now. Now, I ask you, could you bring a goddamn case with 10, 5, 2 fucking counts so you get this piece of shit off the fucking streets and away from fucking children? Now I'm going to tell you something else right now. You watch for the cover-up here, because this Second Mile Foundation, like almost every other children's fucking charity around this fucking country, is probably filled with fucking pedophiles and filled with child fucking molestation. And every effort is going to be spared, or no effort is going to be spared, I should say, in trying to cover this fact up. That there is this rampant pedophilia and rampant child molestation in these children's charities. So, Second Mile is going to be given a gloss at fucking best. And they may be the actual real problem in this entire thing by being the enablers and providing the children. And Corbett should be fucking fired because he entirely failed to prosecute this case when he was the Attorney General. I'm sorry, I said District Attorney before. He was the Attorney General of Pennsylvania, the top legal guy. And now he's weathering a storm of controversy about his actions prior to becoming governor. And because he's a piece of shit, I think he should. So, you watch the gloss and the fact that they're going to try to pin this entire thing on Jerry Sandusky. Now, I find it also curious that one of the witnesses to this, Mike McQueary, in private email says that he did stop the rape that he witnessed in the showers, and that he did talk to the police. The police claim that there is absolutely no record of any communications by him to them about child abuse or child molestation of any kind. Now, the police could certainly be lying, but in the presentment, the indictment presentment that was put forward, only being a summary, mind you, we don't have the entirety of the testimony, it was never indicated that he stopped the rape that he witnessed, and it was never indicated that he talked to the police. Now, one would think that those are very important aspects of the case that would be included in any presentment. However, they were not. Now, that does not mean that he did not say that within the confines of the grand jury room. But one needs to call that into question, especially considering the storm of fire that has fallen upon him for apparently doing fucking nothing. Watching a child get ass raped in a fucking shower by a 50-something-year-old motherfucking piece of shit, he goes and calls his dad. That's the impression that we get. Now, maybe he did do something else. Maybe he did stop him. Maybe he did talk to the police. But it just seems like this is damage control on his part by leaking these emails to make it seem like, oh, he's not the piece of shit that he turns out to be in the, in the public's eye right now. Now, just to comment on politics and all of the ramifications of everything that we're seeing. Of course, Herman Cain continues to show himself to be utterly clueless on everything. And as I have said before, and as I have talked with friends of mine, if we lived in a normal world that was not controlled by this matrix, whatever that we live in, of upside-down reality, one could only conclude that Herman Cain's candidacy is a huge joke, an amusing jest, if you will. And I'd applaud it for that, for being a joke on the American people. But unfortunately, because we live in an upside-down, bizarro world, I can't make that conclusion. I have to assume that he is absolutely serious about wanting to be president of the United States. And for that, it is absolutely stunning at his ignorance. And the fact that he is so willing to air his ignorance to anybody who will fucking listen to him. Now, I want to point out a piece of cognitive dissonance to people who want to support the supposed Austrian side of things and the right-wing radical approach to things. On the one hand, you have the very same people saying that we need to get rid of regulations, and this is to Paul supporters as well, Ron Paul supporters. We need to get rid of regulations because they are an onerous burden on the free market. Oh, crushing us under their hideous weight of regulations. Okay, so we need to get rid of them. So let's get rid of these government agencies that are putting this crushing burden of fucking regulations on the market that prevent mom and pop and Joe's hardware store from even getting into business because it's so hard. And they put a burden on businesses already that prevent them from hiring because all these corporations, all they want to do is they want to hire people. They want to have jobs and they want to make everything great for the country because they just want to give. But they can't because of the onerous, crushing burden of regulation. So, that's the one argument right there. Okay? On the other hand, you have the very same people saying that these corporations own the government and write the regulations. So, how is it an onerous burden and a crushing burden if they write their own regulations that they have? You can't have it both ways. Either it's a thing that works for them or it's a thing that works against them. And I hear both. Okay? Now, I don't see any kind of regulations that require that corporations not throw poison in my fucking water and not release deadly gases into the fucking atmosphere as being a crushing burden of fucking regulation. Now, if you get rid of the EPA, as some want to do, there is absolutely nothing to prevent companies from pouring their toxic sludge right into the ocean or your rivers or creeks or streams. Now I know some of you will be under the impression, perhaps, that, oh, it's in their best interests not to murder us, because after all, we buy their products. And that's another issue entirely. Why are we a country of consumers? Why is our entire GDP consumer-based? Why don't we start fucking making shit again? And if the private sector does not do so, I have a solution. How about the government does what it did in World War II? They had a program called GOCO, government-owned, corporate-operated. But I would change that to government-owned, government-operated. Okay, but here's the twist on this, all right? The government buys and builds a plant for the manufacturing of something. Or they produce a publicly owned company that constructs something. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that the government builds government-owned power plant number 1. Okay, so they start producing energy, a brand new power plant using the latest technologies and all of this sort, and they employ, say, 1,000 people in the operation of this plant. Okay, and then they have government-owned construction company B over here. They employ 5,000 people. And what their job is to do is to start construction on new bridges. Okay? Fully fund these, hire the workers, pay them a living wage, etc. Now, here's the twist. Instead of the government just giving these fucking things to the corporations, which is what they did in World War II, I say you have to have certain guarantees from the corporations and from the businesses that would want to take over. Now understand this. The businesses that would take these over would not have to come up with upfront costs. They would not have to go through the entire startup procedure. They'd already have a business ready to go. The only thing they have to meet is they have to guarantee that they continue to employ the same level of employees or hire more. They have to continue the same living wage that these people have. They have to guarantee that by contractual means, and there has to be a financial study done to make sure that the company taking over the business actually has the means to fund it into the future and to keep it in operation. Okay, certain guarantees along those lines. That's not an exact breakdown, okay? There would have to be certain other criteria that would have to be met, okay? And then the government just gives this business to this private enterprise. They do not have to pay anything. Now, if they fail to live up to their obligations, then they're penalized by the full cost of the startup and the running of the government enterprise in the first place. Now, this is a way that you can stimulate the private economy, because eventually all of these government-owned operations will be turned over to private enterprise. And people can be employed immediately in the building and the construction of these facilities and these construction companies. And we can target the most important areas of our economy first. That way you transition from government-owned to privately owned, and all they have to do is meet certain criteria, and they get it for free. They get it for free. But remember, if they fail to deliver on all of the guarantees, it reverts back to government ownership, and the corporation has to pay the entire cost of that entire fucking business. Because we're not going to have no corporate accountability here. And that's another thing. One more issue on this regulation matter, and one that is pointed towards me particularly when I criticize Ron Paul as a candidate. Because I've said that deregulation is the primary cause for the economic meltdown in this country. And others have tried to point out that no, it's because banks gave mortgages to people who could not afford to buy houses and all this other kind of stuff. Now, there's a claim somehow that the government forced banks to lend money to these people. And that's just bullshit, all right? They did it because they saw an opportunity to fleece people and to make fucking money out of it at the same time by slicing those mortgages up. All right? Now, deregulation and the end of Glass-Steagall allowed these banks to merge into these huge conglomerate corporations where they could have their CDOs and their CDSs and all the other derivatives that amount to the crushing debt that is killing the economy around the fucking world. Now, I have said that deregulation is the cause. Now, I've been criticized because I say we need more regulation. We need to have more regulation. But that's real regulation. Now, I'm not stupid, okay? Don't try to tell me that I'm stupid about this. I understand that the government is completely in bed with corporations. You have to understand this from the perspective that I say when we need regulation and re-regulation, we need regulation that serves the interests of the people in this fucking country and not the goddamn corporation. So when I say regulation needs to be reinstated, it presupposes that we remove the corporate influence from government. That's a presupposition. And it is a absolute bedrock of my plan, the plan that I've presented for years. It's one of the first things that needs to be done. You need to get all the corporate lobbyists out of the fucking government. You need to end the corporate revolving door. That is to say, when you get out of office as a lawmaker, you cannot go to work for a private fucking business that you passed any legislation while you were in office that benefited them in any fucking way. And that means no fucking money to any campaign for anybody, and no elected official gets any money from any corporation at any time for any fucking thing. That's how you get the fucking corporate influence out of government. And lacking that, who do they then serve? Because they have nowhere to go after they lose their fucking election seat. Because they can't revolving door into the corporate sector. Suddenly, they have to listen to the people. So you see how that works. Now, the revolving door goes the other way as well. Nobody gets elected to any office that has any kind of connection with a corporation or any kind of financial company whatsoever, that they then can influence through their elected office. It's simple. So, we need real regulation by a government that serves the interests of the people, which presupposes that corporations are removed from the equation. So, just in summary, the Second Mile charity in Pennsylvania and the Penn State Jerry Sandusky whole fiasco is part of a bigger, deeper, horrid problem. Now, everybody is in damage control right now, and they're going to try to pretend like Jerry Sandusky was the only pedophile in this entire thing, and they're going to try to pin it all on him, as I said before. And I indicated the two possible outcomes of that. But the fact is that Second Mile was the enabler. Governor Corbett, former Attorney General Corbett, totally dropped the ball. His ass needs to go just as much as everybody else's. Second Mile needs to be completely investigated to find out how many child molesters and pedophiles are associated with it. And then they need to expand that investigation to all these child charities. and root out this fucking cancer that is infesting our entire fucking country. And if you want to talk about a legacy of destruction of our children and try to equate that in some way with the burden of debt in the future, it is nothing compared to the destruction of their innocence at the hands of child molesters and pedophiles. I want this issue to stay on the front burner. And I want Corbett to get more heat, and I want his ass out of office because, as I said, he's a piece of shit. Thank you. Good day.